Today I'm going to share with you my first 90 days as a full-time retired solo traveler. I wanted to share my experience with you, not only the places that I went to, but some of the things that I learned along the way and some of the blunders that definitely happened to me and I'm sure will happen to you. So let's go on a journey. Be able to share with you what a trip like this would actually look like, so you're able to see what your future has in store for you. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Valerie. I'm 62 years old, and several months ago I quit my full-time career to start traveling solo around the world. After my 5-week trip across the South Pacific, I flew from Orlando to LaGuardia Airport in New York. I stayed at the Voco IHG property right there in Flushings because I knew that hotel was very close to the cruise port, and I was about to take a cruise for the next 14 days. That would take me from New York all the way to Europe and end my cruise in Southampton. I really picked this specific cruise because one of the ports was a dream destination for me, which was Iceland. Stay tuned because you'll hear us all about Iceland in this video. Our first port on this transatlantic cruise was Halifax, Nova Scotia. This is absolutely a dream place to go. Halifax doesn't really seem to be one of those places that many people put on their bucket list, but you absolutely should. Not only is there interesting history there and museums to explore, but there are so many wineries there that I was quite surprised how many different wineries that were really in that local area. So in Halifax, I did a day tour to 3 different wineries. What a great experience. I'll put the link to who I booked that tour through in the description below. We were in Halifax until early evening, so it gave us plenty of time to see and do just about anything you wanted to. For the next 6 days, we would be at sea. And I can tell you now, I should have done even more research than I did do because it was cold. And I really didn't expect it to be quite so cold at the end of May, but it was. So as our cruise got close to Iceland, we got notices that there were icebergs that were floating, and we would not be able to port anywhere near Iceland. We were so disappointed. We were even more disappointed in NCL when they told us we were going to Liverpool in place of Iceland. I don't think those two ports compare, but that's part of cruising. You never know if a port's actually going to be there one day or gone the next. But yeah, we were all very disappointed that we did not get to port in Iceland as expected. That added another 2 sea days to the 6 that we already had. We did port in several different countries. We ported in Ireland, in Dublin, and along with, they say Paris, France, but in reality, which is quite a distance. We did stay at that port quite late, but the journey to get to Paris was pretty much the entire day there and back. Thank goodness I had already been to Paris with some friends about a year prior, so it didn't affect me nearly as much as some of the other cruisers. We also visited Belfast in the United Kingdom. These are just some of the images that I took along the way. After porting in Southampton, I stayed the next 3 days at the Ibis Hotel right there about 2 blocks from the port. It was a location I picked mainly because of how easy it was to get around and to see the many sites that were local there. This was my first blunder. The Ibis Hotel was an extreme disappointment. Not really one that I would recommend staying at. Not only was there no air conditioning in the hotel, but there was unfortunately mold all over the bathroom. I knew when I started my full-time travel, I was on a budget. At this age, that's just not something that I really want to stay in. Some people are fine with that. I just prefer not to. So my first hotel was pretty much a disappointment, but that was okay. I spent my days really exploring the city, seeing the ancient walls that protected the city so many years ago, visited the castle, and had amazing food at some of the local cafes. From there, I took a train and went to Antwerp in Belgium, and I stayed at the Holiday Inn right in the city center. This is definitely a hotel I would recommend. Not only was it clean, but it was centrally located, and all the staff at this hotel were so helpful to ask any questions or to really just try to help you see as much as you could while you were there. And boy, did I see a lot. I went to the cathedral, did all the tourist things you could possibly do in 3 days. So from there, I also did 2 day trips. One day I took the train up to Amsterdam so that I could see the tulips in full bloom. What an amazing experience. A must do. I would certainly recommend booking a day trip where you have someone that actually guides you, because you get so much more information when you do it that way. On another day, I took a train to Holland. That was one of the places my mother had always talked about, and I definitely wanted to experience that while I was in the area. After I left Antwerp, I took a train to Brussels and spent 4 days in Brussels seeing all the tourist attractions. I wasn't staying that long in each of these locations, and that was done on purpose. You can only stay in the Schengen zone for a total of 90 days within a 180-day time period. And I knew I would be coming back to Europe before the end of that, so I had to save days for the back end of my trip. From Belgium, it was time to hop on a plane, and I flew Qatar to Doha. I had gone through Doha several times through connecting flights and maybe had 8 or 10 hour layover, and I've done several guided tours during those layovers. So if you happen to have a long layover in Doha, I highly recommend doing a layover tour while you're there. You have plenty of time, and you'll really be able to see quite a bit on those little trips. I actually spent a week in Doha. I was able to stay at the brand new Hyatt Regency right there located at the airport. Another reason why I chose to stay here for a week was it was a free layover stop, which means I didn't have to pay an additional airline ticket to be able to visit this country on my way to Southeast Asia. If you want more information about how I did that, just drop a comment and I'll be happy to do a video on how I book connecting flights like this. In Doha, I walked the Corniche several times in the evening, and it is so beautiful. I also did a night trip on one of the boats that take you down the harbor to see all the beautiful buildings all lit up at night. And here's a glimpse of that fun night's excursion. After leaving Doha, on to Southeast Asia. My first destination in Southeast Asia was Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I stayed at the new Hyatt Centric right there in the city center. The local transportation was less than a 10-minute walk. The towers were 3 blocks away, and there were so many activities, restaurants, and shopping all within walking distance from that hotel. In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I took several day trips with locals that I booked through locals.com and had an amazing experience with that. I was able to see many temples. I went to the mosque, and then I climbed 380 stairs to see. This site is also very known for their monkeys that run around up and down the stairs. After leaving Kuala Lumpur, I then flew to Vietnam. My first stop in Vietnam was Da Nang, which is a beach city, and it is a busy, hustling city. It takes a couple of days to actually get used to all the motorcycles and the traffic. But once you get used to it, it's a very interesting city to visit. The beautiful beaches, the sunsets and sunrises every single day. I stayed at the new IHG Voku Marbella right there across from the beach. What an amazing hotel that is. Not only is it easy access to the beach if you're a sun lover, they have an amazing rooftop pool, many restaurants that are easy to walk to, and many local day trips that you can take from the city center. One day we went, the group that I was with during this week, which was a meetup for other travelers that travel full-time. We went to Baja Hills, which is the famous bridge that you see maybe on Instagram or other YouTube videos that they built on the side of a mountain. What an experience that was. I also did a day trip that visited the King's Castle. We experienced a temple and took a bus ride on the side of this mountain with breathtaking views. After leaving Da Nang, Vietnam, I took a Grab and went to Hoi An, Vietnam, which is slightly south of Da Nang. It's an ancient town. Most people know it by the lantern festivals, or the river that you see with the little boats that are all lit up, just like this. In Hoi An, I stayed at the IHG Vignette Collection, which is also a new hotel under the IHG brand. It was right on the river. The staff were so kind and helpful at this property. You could easily walk over the bridge and you were in the old town where the night markets and morning markets were. All the boats also left from that location. Just know one of the great things you can do is in Hoi An is to have custom clothes made. When you go into one of these shops, not only do they measure you, you choose your fabric, and you can literally show them a picture of what you want, and they will have it made within 2 or 3 days. You go back, they remeasure, they make any changes, and then they will normally bring it to you once it's completed. What an amazing experience, and what talented people that are in Hoi An. However, you do have to do your research on who you use to make those custom clothes. In Hoi An, I also got to experience my very first typhoon. What an experience that was. However, I'm from Florida, so I'm used to hurricanes. The biggest challenge was I was staying on the river, and they do worry about flooding there. But as you can see, everything worked out just fine. The staff at that hotel were so lovely and kind. The spa that they have there, the restaurant that's there, all of it was top notch. And they went above and beyond to make sure each and every guest were enjoying their stay, even though it was pouring. From Hoi An, my next trip was back to Da Nang, where I spent just 4 days in the city center away from the beach. And I stayed at the Crowne Plaza in the city center. Again, another great location. Highly recommend each of these hotels that I've mentioned during this trip. I stayed at the Crowne Plaza right there in the city center because it was approximately a 10-minute ride to the airport. And I knew I had an early flight coming up because next on the list was Hanoi. So when I flew to Hanoi, many people stay in the old city down in the historical area. I chose not to do that. I actually chose to stay at the West Lake, the IHG Intercontinental West Lake. This is a beautiful property right on the lake. There are some flaws. It's old. It does need some maintenance, I would say that. And it's pretty central to get to anywhere you want to go. They have local restaurants, all walkable. But you are a little further out, away from most tourist attractions that you might want to see. So Westlake, it's a beautiful place if you want to slow down and just take a break from all the hustle and sightseeing. But if your plan is to really see a lot of tourist attractions while you're in Hoi An, I would recommend probably staying closer to the city center. I stayed 2 weeks at Westlake, and yes, I purposely did that to slow down. I had been going quite quickly, traveling from location to location, and I just needed a breather. I enjoyed the 2 weeks that I stayed in Westlake quite a bit. I know it's super important to take time to slow down when you're traveling full time, especially when you're doing it solo. If you don't, you will experience travel burnout. So I spent the 2 weeks in Hanoi enjoying the beautiful resort that's built on Westlake. So there it is, my first 3 months of solo travel in retirement, visiting 9 countries, staying in more than 17 different accommodations. And yes, I stayed within budget. And most of them I would highly recommend. Transportation has been very easy to book, including my ships, planes, trains, grab rides, and even buses. Here's a new blunder for you. I missed my bus stop getting off in Belgium. No big deal. I just ordered a grab ride from the next bus stop when I realized I had stayed on the bus way too long. I've met amazing people along the way. I've had 3 months of countless experiences, and I'm eager to see what the next 4 months brings into my life in my new solo retirement journey. Thanks for coming along today on this journey. I hope that it inspired you to travel, or maybe take pieces or all of this itinerary and use it for your own inspiration to travel. Just remember to like and subscribe so you can keep up with this new retirement journey. Next week, I'll talk about how I planned my travels, how I came up with a budget, and some things that would help you if you're someone that wants to travel solo around the world.